加減なんかするんじゃねえぞ。出ねえとてめえも穴開きにするぜ。一丁、共同戦線と行くか。
Grimjow Jaeger Yaquez enters Jump Force as an Arrancar who uses his expertise in swordplay, hand-to-hand combat and spiritual power to pressure the opponent in unique ways. Arrancar are hollows who sacrifice some of their humanity to reach greater feats of strength and acquire Shinigami-like abilities. Whilst Arancars are already very powerful, Grimjow is one of the strongest, being a member of Aizen's Arrancar army, the Espada. This puts Grimjow in direct communication with Aizen as one of his most trusted subordinates. Grimjow initially comes across as laid back in his villainy, however he is actually very brutal and merciless with a short-tempered bloodthirsty personality. He's a force for evil through and through. Grimjow killed for his own purposes, to become stronger alongside his own subordinates. However, Aizen was the one able to realise that dream, significantly enhancing Grimjow's abilities in exchange for his service as a member of his Espada. In Jump Force, Grimjow is a character all about the offense. He has some good close range mix up with some tricky attacks, as well as some good potential at long range, making him a very balanced character and complete character overall. For this reason, I would call Grimjow a balanced character as he has a good answer to both close range and long range play. Whilst not as simple as many other characters to pick up, Grimjow is definitely approachable for most players. Grimjow's first ability is called Granray Sero. Grimjow strikes with his sword directly in front of him before taking a stance and charging his attack. He then fires a laser with incredibly long range, the full range of the arena. The opponent is knocked up and away when this ability connects. Before firing the laser, the initial sword strike can hit and damage the enemy, and if you do so, the beam hit is guaranteed. The sword strike itself has very short range since it's a straight downward thrust. Granray Sero is a very easy ability to combo into even without landing the initial sword strike at the beginning. The damage is good and the ability only costs 1 bar to use, making it your go-to combo ender in most if not all situations. Also, the beam can be charged by holding down the ability button, which is the right trigger. Charging the beam takes only a couple of seconds and increases its damage. Also, charging the beam triggers a brief cutscene before it is fired. This is how you can tell if you're doing the increased damage version of this ability. The cutscene version of the beam does extra hits and knocks the enemy up higher, which gives you some different combo options. The cutscene Granray Sero can also be triggered by hitting the opponent with the initial sword strike before the beam without having to charge it whatsoever. Granray Sero is a good neutral attack, it's fairly quick especially once the beam is fired, and it's also good to cover switches. Grimjow's second ability is called Garra de la Pantera. Grimjow stands in place, transforms and fires 5 fast projectiles. This is possibly Grimjow's most unique ability and hardest to master. The projectiles fire straight forward but do have strong tracking. They are still able to be dodged, but usually it's safer to block against them. This ability isn't a good combo tool because it's very situational, meaning that you'll have to spend a lot of time learning when you can extend combos with this ability, and assists will be required to do so. Garra de la Pantera costs 1 bar to use and is a solid neutral tool to cover Grimjow's advance without using assists. In this way, it can also be used for some guard break setups. By holding down the ability button, Grimjow will continuously fire more projectiles. This can be done until you manually stop or run out of energy. Whilst using Garra de la Pantera, just before firing a projectile volley, holding down the directional stick will make the projectiles fire from the left of Grimjow. This change in starting position could make them more useful for tracking targets when they try to sidestep, but the difference isn't too noticeable. Just something to consider. Firing this way will create a longer delay from when the projectiles are spawned until they reach the enemy, making it easier for Grimjow to use as a long range setup. This version of Garra de la Pantera is better to use in the neutral, especially at further ranges, but the longer spawning and awkward position make it much worse in close range. Garra de la Pantera does not have infinite range like Granray Sero, but the range is still fairly long. That considered, this ability does have good tracking alongside some good long range mix-up and setup applications. The damage on both versions of this ability are the same. Also, whilst holding down the ability button, you can switch between firing the volley straight forward or from Grimjow's left, again adding to some of that long range mix-up. Grimjow's third ability is called Jaw Split. Grimjow jumps into the air and quickly crashes down in front of where he started. The range is short but the landing is fairly quick. Using Jaw Split in the neutral is definitely reactable for vigilant players, but it can also be good for some block string mix-up. Upon hitting the enemy, a cinematic is played. The positions of Grimjow and the opponent are reset, and the enemy is sent flying away at the end. Jaw Split is an unblockable attack. which again makes it good for close range mix-up, especially when applying pressure. Jaw Split costs 2 bars to use, so it's not an ability you can spam or use a lot. The damage on it is good however. There aren't many ways to combo into Jaw Split without using an assist, but I wouldn't advise using this for combos anyway. Jaw Split is best used sparingly due to the cost, as well as being a mix-up pressure tool. Make sure to utilize strong range play as well as other close range pressure options so the opponent doesn't know when to expect this. Grimmjow's awakened ability is called Descaron. This is an extremely fast dash super. It is very easy to combo into from basically any attack string. You can also combo from the cutscene version of Gran Rey Zero into this ability due to the increased hits and increased hit stun. Upon connection, Grimmjow unleashes attacks knocking the opponent away and resetting the positions of Grimmjow and his opponent. You are basically neutral on recovery, so the choice is yours whether to play from range or move in for more pressure. This ability is easy to punish with in the neutral due to its speed, but it's also a great combo tool. Use it as you see fit. Also, combo follow up after Descaron is possible with certain assist combos, but it is very challenging. For Grimmjow's assist, he uses his second ability, Garra della Pantera. This assist will fire the linear version of this ability, so straightforward, and only fires one burst. There are no continued shots afterwards. This assist with its good travel speed makes it useful for guard break setups from long range and a little block pressure. However, the hit stun is very low, so you need to be skilled with it. This assist is fairly slow for what it's worth, with it having low damage and low hit stun. The assist can also be used defensively to stop some pressure and is an okay combo extender. Garra della Pantera, the assist version, does a few all-round things but doesn't excel in any one way. Other assists can be faster, have more damage, more stun or better tracking. The main strengths with this assist lie in its block pressure due to the tracking. It's always preferable to block this attack rather than a dodge attempt. This can allow for additional block string pressure or use for taking your turn back. Grimmjow's overall gameplay is about being on the offense but not necessarily all the time. This character has some good long range neutral tools which may be used in a number of situations. Also, Grimmjow has good overall damage without using assists because of certain combo paths and his go-to combo ender, Gran Rey Zero. Gran Rey Zero is Grimmjow's best ability overall. Being only one bar, you can always use his attack, whether it's to occasionally zone or to mix in with your combos. Practice when you can use the cutscene version of his attack, as it will be important to your game plan as you can follow up afterwards, especially with his awakened ability. Another good range tool is Grimmjow's second ability, Garra della Pantera, since it's much more spammable and its tracking can cause some issues for the enemy. Know when to mix up the projectile timings by changing the direction of this ability, as it can be troublesome, especially when your opponent wants to approach you. Whilst Grimmjow's range play is definitely solid, with 2 versatile ranged abilities, his purpose isn't to zone or run down the clock. Grimmjow's got some tricky normal attacks which can be useful for applying pressure on the opponent in close range, especially when you consider his third ability, Jaw Split. For an unblockable attack, Jaw Split is fairly quick and very easy to hit if the opponent isn't paying their full attention. With an assist that isn't all too special, Grimmjow can fit comfortably into a team as your main force, the point character if you will. And not requiring any assist to still do good damage in combos makes Grimmjow a fairly simple character to fit into a team. When looking for assists to pair him with, you could choose to go for simple combo extenders or some characters to aid in Grimmjow's ranged play if you want to take that approach. Otherwise, pair him with somebody who can help him close the gap on the opponent if the close range is where you want to be. For me, the Grimmjow game plan is all about playing at a decent range where I can charge for energy and then make my attack. Again, due to Grimmjow's damage, you don't need more than 1 bar to get good consistent damage. However, with 2 or 3 bars he has more options for combos and pressure. If I want to play defensively to waste some time and simply keep the opponent away, I rely on Grimmjow's second ability, Garra della Pantera. This ability is also good to use just before you rush in with Grimmjow. Just keep an eye on your energy to know when this is the good option. Otherwise, I may occasionally throw out Gran Rey Zero in the neutral in an attempt to catch the opponent off guard, because it still does good damage. When it comes to his abilities, Grimmjow is a very unique character. There are a number of different ways you can choose to play him, which can be viable in their own ways. I for one see Grimmjow as a more offense heavy character, one whose strengths come from being close to the enemy with enough energy that his options are always open to him. However, as I said, Grimmjow is still a strong force without the need for his team. He can single-handedly create guard break setups, range pressure and deal good combo damage and mix up, although some of those will require some finesse. I'd be lying to say that Grimmjow is one of the easier DLC characters. His moveset can feel a little bit weird and janky at first, with 2 very different long range attacks and a fast close range unblockable attack. However, after spending a short amount of time with this character, you can begin to understand how it is that you want to play with him and what methods suit you the best. All things considered, Grimmjow is a fairly balanced character as well as a fun one, so he gets my recommendation. Guys, this has been the character overview for Grimmjow Jaeger Yaquez. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video. Bye guys.